Hello, everybody. My name is Diana Lindsay, and I am president of Sunbelt Publications. We are the proud publishers of this wonderful book that has been in production, by the authors for over 11 years and actual and physical production for over 3 years. It's a magnificent work. I'd love to share it with you here on the screen. Believe it or not, this book weighs 5 pounds. And it comes in 3 editions. It's magnificent. The photographs are just absolutely stunning. It's a soft cover, hardcover, and a special edition in a clamshell box. For those of you that have joined our session today, we do have a special for just those that are viewing this program. If you do go to our website and you are interested in purchasing one of the editions of the book, there is a code that you can type in to get 20% off on that book. And that code is basketry21, basketry21. And if you use that code, you can get 20% off on one of these books. This program today is one of 3 that we have held, and this is the 3rd one. And you are welcome to go to our Facebook, Sunbelt Publications Facebook, and you can click on to the previous programs that with Sunbelt Spotlights that we have had, and you can view those. And this is being recorded. So if you do happen to miss part of it, or if you know someone who would like to see this, be sure and tell them to check back on our Facebook page in a couple of days, and we will post this so that you will be able to see it. Today, very, very special day because we have a very special guest. I am so honored to actually have a descendant of one of the basket makers that is featured in this book. Lucy Parker is the great-granddaughter of Lucy Parker Tellis, who's a masterpiece basket weaver featured in this book, and she is a masterpiece basket weaver in her own right. So it's a total delight to have her here. Her family has been doing this for generations, and like I said, we're very honored to have her here and for her to share her time with us to tell us a little bit about her family and basket weaving itself. Our other special guest is the author of this book, Eugene Meieran. What I'd like to do next is to introduce Gene, and then we will have Lucy following that. And Gene will be doing a presentation on this book. And Gene has, like I said, been working on this for many, many years. Has gone to every resource possible to bring this book together. And it is a book that is absolutely magnificent, as I mentioned before. It's richly illustrated, has photos from private collections, museums, institutions where these baskets are found. And in this book, we've been able to, Gene has been, the co-author, Wayne Thompson, have been able to match the basket weavers with some of the photographs where they they were originally taken with them appearing in that with those baskets. So Gene, I'd like to introduce you right now so that you can go ahead and tell us a little bit about how you got involved and tell us a little bit about the program that you're going to present. And thank you, Gene. Take it away.
All right, this is me. Name is Eugene Meieran. I'm actually a material scientist. I worked at Intel Corporation for a huge number of years, for 47 years, basically. And I got involved in this book because Wayne Thompson and I have shared a collecting ability for mineral specimens, myself for 75 years now, going on 75 years, and Wayne for about 50 years. And we also both have an interest in Pueblo ceramic pottery. So when I moved to Phoenix for Intel in about 1988, we became very good friends because we shared these 2 hobbies of collecting minerals and collecting ceramic pottery. Wayne's wife and my wife are both artists. My wife is a ceramic artist, and so is Wayne's wife. So we got very involved with the ceramics. Then Wayne's wife got fairly sick. She eventually died of cancer. And as she was in the hospital, Wayne turned his attention away from the ceramic pottery to look at basket weaving because it involved the same types of dedication to art that went into the pottery making, except he recognized that weaving of baskets took a lot longer and a lot of different skills. And because Wayne was not particularly adept using computers, but that was my forte, I helped him with the image collection, finding the sources of baskets, finding the history, finding the images, talking to the museum curators, talking to dealers and collectors, so that we could gather together the images that are shown in this book. Now Wayne chose a specific time in history between 1895 and 1940, a term called the Florescence, or the flowering of the basket trade, because of the invent of the railroad going to the various Indian locations, because of all of a sudden the emergence of a lot of utilitarian metal baskets that could take the place of the traditional woven baskets. So the whole trade turned during that period towards a lot of tourism, and the wonderful baskets were carved and created outside of, as you see on the next slide there, California, particularly the Central Basin area of California, and some of the Western Nevada, the Washoe tribes, some of Southern California, were the tribes that were the greatest of the great weavers. So we did this book. Wayne started it in about 2010, 2009. I joined in, as I say, when Wayne's wife was in the hospital. And we then ended up talking to over 100 different sources, museums, libraries, dealers, collectors, scientific institutions, and the like. And we started doing the things so that we went to the places. And what we tried to do is to get original vintage pictures from 100, 120, 140 years ago and match them with the baskets that are shown in the pictures. So we then had to find out where the baskets were and match them with the pictures. So for example, here is one of the Mauna Lake Bayou, Tina Charlie, holding a basket that she won a prize at the Indian Field Days. This is the second one that shows this kind of a thing. And this is the one of Mrs. Dick Francisco Yokuts. And in this one, you can see the large gambling tray and the picture of the gambling tray. So we spent a lot of time trying to find A, the best of the baskets from this area, and B, where the pictures were, where the baskets were stored or were being exhibited, get pictures of these, match the pictures together, and then try to do this. And at the same time, knowing that we were missing a lot of people. There are many more weavers that were fine weavers that we could include in the book, and we were missing a lot of baskets. There's a lot more baskets that were woven than we've shown in the book, even though we have about 400 baskets that are illustrated. Here's another picture, which I just get a kick of, because on the right, you see one of these old pictures that shows 5 of the gambling trays of Mrs. Dick Francisco. And there are pictures of the 5 baskets. Each of the baskets, each of those gambling trays is shown on a separate page in the book, but I put them together in the way that they were shown 125 years ago. I just got sort of a scientific kick out of being able to do that kind of research, finding all these things and putting these pictures together. And then the next one is a similar thing with the sister-in-law of the very, very famous Datsul Ali. This is C's Brian. And we were able to find 5 of the 6 baskets that were shown in this particular picture. I still don't know where the one on the bottom left here, I don't know where that basket is, but we're able to find 5 of them, put them together this way. And these are all, again, masterpiece baskets, which means the stitching is very superb. Lucy will talk more about this in a moment. The stitching is wonderful. The designs are wonderful. The stitch count is wonderful. The shape is wonderful. And altogether, if the things are preserved, this is what contributes to making what we call a masterpiece basket. Here's another picture. This is of Carrie Bethel, also Mauna Lake Bayou, same tribe as Lucy tells us. This shows her holding one of the baskets, and on the right is a basket that is owned by Wayne Thompson. I'm not a basket collector myself. I just got a very great degree of fun, of exhilaration of being able to find the baskets, get the images, understand the technology, and put all this together. Wayne is more of the person who knows the history of the baskets, of the weavers, as does the editor of the book, Alan Garfinkel Gold, who is a PhD anthropologist, and he knows a lot about the symbolism of the patterns of the baskets. More of the baskets, and we found some of the very, very famous, world famous baskets. This is the famous, on the left is Ramona Lubo, and there was a very strange incident back in the 1920s where her husband was killed, and this became the basis of a play called the Ramona. And this is the star basket, the very famous star basket of Ramona. And every year the play on Ramona is played out. A book about her was written, and she is very, very strongly featured in the book, as are many of the others. As I say, we have 45 main weavers that are featured in the first part of the book. Another one, this is a wonderful basket by Kitty Johnson. And here she is holding the basket, as I say, 100 years ago. And the basket is now on display and can be seen in its full glory. Of course, the most famous of the weavers by most measurements is Datsal Ali. And this is one of the cases where the weavers, where you know the baskets, a lot of it by the design, but mostly because a record was kept by Amy Cohen, who owned a shop in Nevada, where they had most of Datsal Ali's baskets were consigned, and they kept a ledger mentioning the dates of almost all of the baskets. And I think we have a record here. We have, I think, 55 of her baskets are shown here, of the famous Datsal Ali baskets, and they were all given an LK number for Louisa Kaiser, her English name. The Buda was her Indian name. And we just show an enormous number of these baskets in full color, some of them for the first time. You can see the two famous pictures of Datsal Ali with these two baskets shown. On the right is one of my favorite pictures in the book, because again, it took a lot of work to get these. But this is another famous picture of Datsal Ali sitting with 9 baskets at her feet. And I was able to find 8 of the baskets. And so 8 of the baskets are shown. The only one that I was not able to find is the basket down here in the very bottom of the picture. But it's kind of it's just a neat thing to be able to see Datsal Ali and then to see all the baskets. Some of these were shown recently in Las Vegas. Was it Las Vegas or Reno? I forgot. It was Reno at the museum there, where they showed a few of these baskets along with that picture. But here are 8 of those 9 baskets. Another picture of various kinds. And again, on the left, we see a variety of rattlesnake baskets and different designs. On the right, other baskets. So we just try to put together a compendium of all the, what we consider to be the best baskets in terms of the design, the weave, the color, the texture, the tribal history, and again, coming from the period that we talked about, 1895 to roughly 1940. Now, Lucy Tellis was one of the 3 or 4 of the main basket weavers. This is Alice James Wilson, her sister-in-law, right? And it shows her little girl sitting in the basket that is shown there. This was seen at the, I saw this basket in 2013 at Yosemite when I first met Lucy Parker. Then there are pictures of Alice making baskets. The one on the right is, again, one of those fun things because we don't know where the basket is, but I was able to find a picture of that particular Alice Wilson basket. The one on the left where the child is sitting in the basket is one, as well as this one on the right, are shown in a picture of Lucy Tellis later on. And since the baskets are not signed in particular, like they were for the ceramic pottery, which were mostly signed by the more recent potters, there's been controversy about who exactly made this particular basket. The one on the right is definitely made by Alice because you can see her weaving it. The one on the left, since it's shown in the picture of Lucy Tillis later on, there's been some question about the thing. I believe this was Alice Wilson's basket. Another one that I get a kick out of is Sidna Hancock, and she is shown with one of the 6 main big oyas that she had woven. During our book, we found the 7th oya, and it's pictured in the book. The first time that oya was pictured, and about the 7 of them look very, very similar, and you have to look carefully to distinguish one from the other. But there are now known 7 oyas of the Sidna Hancock. And one of the other things, as I was studying for all this and trying to find the pictures, we had the picture in the upper left, the upper left picture of the left side diagram of a picture of Lucinda with a person dressed as a cowboy. We had that picture, which was from a thing called a woodblock print. And as I was looking for pictures, all of a sudden, I found on the internet a woodblock print. And indeed, there is the, let's see, where did I put the woodblock? But I have the woodblock around here somewhere. That's a woodblock print shown on the right. On the right side, you can see the picture of the woodblock print, and you can see the woodblock print in reverse. So that was put, and there's a photograph of what the woodblock print is. So I actually bought this off the internet simply by searching for the baskets of Lucinda Hancock. It was quite amazing to be able to do that and find a woodblock print for sale of a particular weaver of a time frame from 120 years ago that I was looking right at the picture that was taken. These 2 pictures that you see there were taken with a few minutes of each other. Then we come to the last major weaver in the book, which is Lucy Parker Tillis, the great grandmother of Lucy Parker, who will talk in a few minutes. Just want to show you some of the wonderful baskets she made. One of the most famous is one of the really large baskets. And again, this is the thing that Wayne glommed on when he decided to write a book about baskets, because potters can make a ceramic pot in a few days to a few weeks, maybe a month. This basket took Lucy 4 years to put together. It's a phenomenal basket. It's shown in the next slide. You can see her and outside of Yosemite with the basket. And these are just several of the baskets, these wonderful, iconic baskets of Lucy Tillis. And in fact, when I went and I met Lucy back in 2013, there is the wooden structure, the wooden teepee that Lucy is seen in front of when she was photographed with that particular basket. I just had to put this picture in. I just get such a kick out of it. These are some of the other ones, and you can see in the bottom on the left side picture, some of the baskets, one of the baskets from Alice Wilson, and some of Lucy's relatives. Just some of the wonderful variety of designs, lidded, oyas, baskets of all kinds of shapes. There she is again with some of her baskets. And she left quite a legacy. So you can see all of these baskets. Before I go to Lucy, let me just finish up with a couple of comments about the book. I told you I'm a technologist. I was a doctor's degree in material science, and I get a kick out of technology, working on miniaturization of circuits to make the microprocessors that enable the Zoom talk to go on. But the Pomos created some of the largest baskets in the world, and there you see one of them, and some of the smallest with the same weaving technique. And this basket on the right, the 2 little ones, are about 1/4 of an inch in diameter by Mary Benson's husband, William Benson, Dr. William Benson. And these being made with the same technique back, as I say, 100 years ago, and woven to such precision, just fascinated me. And we had to put in something about this particular set of Pomo baskets, the largest of the Pomo baskets that took several months to years to weave using a dozen different weavers, and the smallest basket, one of them put together by the only male that's illustrated in the book of William Benson. But there are many other weavers where we don't go into detail. So this just shows some of the weavers where we may have one single basket in, plus the pictures of the weavers. But in addition, there were many weavers where we had pictures of the weaver, we know who they are, but we don't illustrate pictures of the baskets. And by the same token, there are many, many pictures in the literature of people with wonderful baskets, clearly masterpiece baskets, but the weavers are unidentified. So we have a whole section that's devoted to these unidentified weavers to put them into as much of the public space as we can. And finally, we have a bunch of baskets, which are clearly masterpiece baskets that resemble many of the baskets of known weavers, but the basket weaver is unidentified. So we have about 15 or 20 of these baskets in the book that we hope that someday maybe somebody will be able to say, ah, yeah, that particular basket was woven by so-and-so at such and such a time. Then we have a section on the very important people that helped contribute to the book. There's two of them here, Bob and Carol Adams. Bob passed away during the writing of the book. Natalie Lynn is a dealer that lives near me here in Portland, Oregon. And we have about 16 of these very famous people that go back in history to the Fred Harvey family, through the Smithsonian people, to the modern dealers of baskets that have made what was perceived as a craft at one time into a true art form. And as I said, we use about 100 different people that get baskets: museums, libraries, weavers such as Lucy, collectors, art institutes, universities, and so forth.
Lucy's family, 4 generations of basket weavers are Coast Miwok and Kashaya Pomo tribe. And what is really wonderful is to have her here today. And what I want to start out by asking Lucy, tell us about your ancestors who were involved with creating some of these masterpiece baskets. Who were they and how are they related to you?
Okay, before I get started, in our old way, hi, I'm Lucy Parker. My Indian name's Tweechichi, means roadrunner. And before we get started, when we do our Indian ways and our baskets and stuff, ceremonies, we always say a little prayer to the Creator. So I'd like to do a real short little prayer like that for what we're doing today and what is very ancient, what has been here for thousands and thousands of years. So I just want to thank the Creator today for this beautiful day and for a new year. We get to start all over again, and we pray that everything will get back to peacefulness, and that everybody's gonna, we just keep going on and just live our lives with happiness and peacefulness, and just give thanks every day you wake up in the morning, and pray for our family who has been passed, ancestors who are almost all gone, and hopes everybody is doing well today. Yeah, I hope. Okay, I'm ready now. All right, I'm Lucy Parker, Indian name of Tweechichi, and that was given to me by my great grandma Lucy Tellis, and she gave me the Indian name. It means roadrunner, and she gave each one of my family members Indian names, and then all my kids have Indian names. But I was born and raised in Yosemite National Park. I grew up there, and I'm a direct descendant from they're called Southern Sierra Miwok, which is Awanichi tribe. And then I'm Mono Lake Paiute, which is Kusetica. And I'm also Kashaya Pomo and Coastal Miwok on my mother's side, Julia Parker. So I've got a lot of tribes to work with, and the materials that are used is just, there's so many materials. And I'm 4-generation basket makers with my mom, myself, my daughter Ursula, and my granddaughter Naomi. And so we carry this tradition on. We're basket makers. So, and what was the question you asked me?
Well, you did answer who are your ancestors that have been involved in the basketry making, but tell us what tribal influences there are that are reflected in the baskets that you make, those of your family.
Okay. Yeah, well, the basketry that I make, it's contemporary. It's not, done like, in the styles of my great grandma Lucy, because her basketry was just, I mean, I look at her basket work and her cousin sisters, Minnie Mike, Carrie Bethel, and Aunt Alice Wilson. I mean, their basketry is just, it's just like, how did they do this? And that inspires me, from my generations of my family to want to put together baskets like this. And sometimes it's a little bit trying because of material wise, you can't get enough material, there's not, it's all overgrown areas where my grandmother used to go get her materials. It's all overgrown. There hasn't been any caretaking on the areas. So I'm trying to revive that back and bring back the materials again so we can, always have them. And so that's what during their time, was different, and they were able to access, and they did a lot of trading with the Mono people for the Sedge Routes and the California Redbud. And then they would trade willow and deer grass. There's bracken fern root. There's many materials that were used and put into these baskets. And but they're all unique in itself, and they're all related, but they all do it different. So
there is a lot of difficulty then in finding the same kind of materials that your ancestors had worked with before.
yeah, there is. And so we have to travel, different areas in California looking for materials. And I live on the east side of these stairs. I live at so in our area here is very prominent with willow, and there's a lot of willow that was used for the basketry on the eastern side here. And so I go every year to my areas and where I gather the willow. And so I know every year I go back, it's going to be really good material. I partake in that way. And then when I go home to Yosemite, I'll do the same thing in that area. And you always ask permission, to take from the plants. And then you just, you prune out areas because they have to, you want them to come back really strong and healthy.
So what is good? Tell us a little bit about what's currently going on with the basket weavers. There's an association that you all belong to, and how is that kind of helping you and keeping all of this artistry going on?
Yeah, there's an association that's going on. It's the Californian Basket Weavers, and that was started by a group of elders who a lot of them have passed on now. And my mother was one of the people. Julia Parker was the one who started this organization and wanted to revive the California basketry. And so it started out learn about the in your areas, what grows in your area, and harvesting. So it's been really good. Of course, we have new people coming in, new weavers, and sometimes to do the whole ceremonies around basket making is that you don't want to start from the beginning, you want to start in the middle. And so people will start buying material, or they'll go to the stores and buy rattan or something. I mean, it's good practice stuff, but the whole thing, when I began learning my basketry, I had to learn all the rules. I had to learn all the 4 seasons, what the plants look like. And then I had to learn how to split them, clean them, and then they had to be stored for a year. And I couldn't do no basket work until I had all my materials ready to go. So it was, a lot of, and nowadays what's happening, most people sometimes don't want to do that. They just want to get right to the baskets. And I think the organization has, they're trying to get that to people too, to do all those traditions like that.
So is there lots of sharing among the various bands and tribes on styles and what kind of sharing goes on with the
Okay, a lot of the sharing that went on was with the different, on the east side, the west side, the Northern California, Southern California. The baskets where there was a lot of trading going on, like with the Mono people, like I said earlier, for the red bud, and then they had bracken fern root, they had the deer grass, they had, and so it was traded in with grandmother. She would get sedge roots and they would trade amongst each other. Then they'd come to the east side to Mona Lake and they would trade there for willow and the different things you could get over here. And the designs now in basketry, I have some examples of some designs here at my table here, and they were different mountains or the symbols of different like she used a lot of the flowers and a lot of the butterflies that she was pretty famous for, and that that kind of became a symbol for them. But traditional basketry, that was because they were used for sale, they weren't used to make, to cook in. And the stitching is, you have to count stitches when you first start your design because you want it to come even. And so that was some of the things that I was trying to do. And then I had my mom help me. And so she explained it to me because I wanted to keep everything even and it was getting crooked. And I go, why is this getting crooked? She said, there's certain stitches that you put into this basket that will only make a point. And then there's other stitches that won't. And so I had to learn those stitches. And so now I'm able to do that. So it's a little bit of trying, but it works. And then sometimes we do a 3 rod that comes out here. And then we also have the deer grass. This is a deer grass that can be used for gambling trays and things like that. And you can always identify basketry through, in California, they had different starts, different fibers that you started with. And the ladies in Yosemite, my grandmother, they used what they call a clock spring coil. And they would coil it up like a little spring. And then you would stitch around in that circle. And then you would add your foundation. So there's one. This one here, I started 3 years ago and I haven't finished it. So I'm going to add more. I'm going to add a design up here on the top. So you have to count each one of these stitches. So you have to have some kind of, it's kind of mathematical. The ladies, Minnie, Mike, and Carrie, and Lucy, they just were so, their designs were just so exotic. It's just like it really puzzles me, like how they put this together. I mean, it's just, it just inspires me so much, because I want to be like that too. And it's hard sometimes because I'm in a new age and new time. And we can't stay home and do our baskets, we got to go to work. And so we just can't. I would love to do that, just sit home.
So is basket weaving to you
and make the baskets,
or do you also sell baskets?
So I do have some examples of materials I use. This is the California red bud, and there's 2 seasons to get the red bud, and it's usually in the spring, because in the springtime the red bud will slip. There's enough water that's in the red bud and the skin will slip off, so you can get some light red bud, and that's also incorporated in the basketry. The Miwoks did that, and the Pomos did the white red bud too. And then in the fall time, or about right now, winter time, is when you gather for the strings. And you have to wait. One of my elders told me, wait till the ice freezes over on the plants. He said, then you can just cut 2 eyes above the ground. So, there's 2 different times, 2 different things to use. And you got to let these dry out for a year. You can't use them when they're green, because what happens is they'll shrink. Building baskets is like building a house. I mean, you're not going to build your house with green wood. So that's the red bud. This is the Sedge Route. This root is gathered on the west side. The Monos used it, the Miwoks, Pomos, and you have to go out and gather this root only during the probably early spring, and never in the summer, because it's home of the rattlesnakes, and the rattlesnakes lay in those sedge beds. And so when you go there, you have to be careful that they're not in those beds. So you have to give them their time, and then we go in, after. But this material is very, very easy to use. You put it in water and it just softens right up, and then you can just bake your baskets, pretty fast. This is the willow. This is split willow. This was gathered, I think, several years ago, and then it just stays coiled. You get ready to use it, put it in water. And so like right now is the time to gather and then during the fall time for the sticks. So 2 different seasons, and they knew how to use these materials in that fashion. So, but I have a coil of redbud that my grandmother had, and that was given to me when I first started making baskets. So, but lots of things. This is the willow that's been seasoned, scraped. We store our material like this, and then it's stored until we get ready to use it. We always got to put it back in water. And I try to do a Miwok style and a Mono Lake Paiute style. So there's a whole difference. It's just in the starts and stuff.
Do you have a plan when you start a basket on what it's going to look like, or does it kind of evolve when you're working on it?
Say that again.
Do you have a plan when you start a basket on what it's going to look like, or do you just start it and it just kind of evolves?
Well, there's several different styles of basketry that I do, and I learned how to do a lot of twine work before I got to do a coil. And so like when I start the basket, I try to start it in, already what I'm going to make with it. And so I do have a plan. And when I do coil work, I've been making really miniatures to bigger baskets, but then I run out of material. So it's like it sits, and then you have to start over again when you get the material in. But yes, I do have a plan. And if I wanted to make a watertight basket, I would use the grass foundation with the sedge roots, because that's what happens when you put that basket in the water. The grass swells and it seals up the holes and stuff that's in the basket, So, but there's so many ways to put together a basket, and I've been trying to do all the styles because it's not being made, and it's a lot of time, they take.
Jean, when you were working on this book, part of it was getting involved with the families of the masterpiece basket weavers. And of course, you got involved with Lucy Parker, trying to find out about her family. Can you kind of tell us how you worked with Lucy and how you worked with other of the band members who are descendants of the folks that are in the book?
Well, first of all, we had to gather the names. Can you hear me at all? Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Yes.
Okay, Diana, can you hear?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, it was interesting. We had the names of the basket weavers, and then I would go on the internet and see if I could find any names that were similar and use a bunch of catchwords like basket weaver, the tribal name, and so forth. Or I would look at some of the old photographs that were in other books, like Frank Lotta's book or Brian Bigby's book, or, a number of different places, Craig Bates. And from those, you would get names. And then I would start a colossal hunt through the literature to see if I could find somebody that would be a descendant. So, for example, I found somebody named Blaver that was listed somewhere, and I would go through all the Blavers I could find out, and I would ask, "Are you related to so and so?" And 85% of the time, the answer would be, "I have no idea what you're talking about." But every
Oh,
so often, you get somebody. And then I might call them and sometimes make an arrangement to meet them and see if I could get a picture, if they had any baskets of their own that I could get pictures of, or if they had stories that they could tell and so forth. So I ended up meeting, I don't know, perhaps a dozen or a dozen, well, maybe 20 of the people, many of whom are listed in the book as being giving quotes about their ancestors. Others I would get email messages from. Others just wanted to know or had no interest in basketry and had no interest in their ancestors, and you just have to drop it off. So it was an exploration thing, sort of like a little bit of detective work, but that's what a scientist try to do.
So, how did you find Lucy?
Lucy, I knew about her from the Basket Weaving Association, but what happened is that there was a big basket show of the Yosemite basket makers in 2013 at the Yosemite Museum. So I decided to go there, and that's where Craig Bates, who had had a serious illness, a stroke, was there, and Julia Parker, Lucy's mother, was there, and I met Lucy for the first time. I knew about her previously, but I introduced myself and said, "We're writing a book," and she seemed interested, and so we kept up correspondence ever since.
And so, Lucy, what do you think about having your ancestors in a book like this?
I I I just received the copy yesterday, and I opened it up, and I was just, I had tears in my eyes. It's just a beautiful book, and just seeing, all the weavers represent the different sections in California, and of course, my great grandma Lucy and Carrie and Minnie and that were Tina Charlie, all those ladies that were, making baskets together and sharing each other's, designs, and I think there was a lot of peace and harmony in that, that they were all together, and so I love the book. I skimmed through it, and I'm just going to sit down and just look through everything. It's wonderful, and so that's inspiring me even more now, to I can do this, and you just have to just go do it. And when I was a young girl, when I began weaving, I used to go with my mother to the Indian village when she worked there for the Park Service, and I was probably about 6 or 7, and I would just sit and watch. I did never talk. I just was kind of shy, and I would watch her, and I learned like that. And then, so then the next time I got to go, she said, "Okay, you can scrape willows." So I learned how to scrape the willows, and then after that, I had to let them dry, and then after maybe a couple of years, and I was able to make the baskets. And so I started with a lot of twine work, which is like, this is all whole shoot willows, and this is like the styles that these twine work is the pomo style. So I started doing stuff like, pomo style work with the willows, tule. There's a lot of stuff of tule. There's all these really flexible fibers. I got to start a coil after that, and then I had to learn how to trim. I learned how to go dig the roots. I had to know what season they were going to be available. How do you store them? All these questions, and I never asked any questions because you get in trouble when you ask too many questions. But I used to travel with my mom to Levining. My dad would deer hunt on the east side, and then we would go during when he's deer hunting. We would go to Carrie and Minnie's house, and he lived in a little Indian house, and we'd go there, and I was just a little girl, and I'd always just go to sleep, but they would be there making their baskets. We'd always see willows, and they were helping my mom learn how to do the basketry. So, and I would talk to them, and so, I just learned a lot by watching, and I was so happy that I got to be there with them, and I started understanding what it was about, and so it's always just been with me that, I want to do, that's all I think baskets all the time. like, oh, I can't wait to get home, but I can finish my basket I started, So it's just, I always not consider myself a master weaver yet until my mom says, so I just say I'm just a basket maker. And, I had different teachers. The Monos helped me. Norma Behiel was a Numa basket maker, and some of the Bethels over there, just different people. Mabel McKay, the Pomos, people like that, helped. So, but there's all kinds of styles of basketry. Some of the other styles like I've done is like these are kind of miniature pomo styles. This is a little shell one. And this one's with a quill top. And these little ones are really hard to make. It takes a lot of material. Little ones like this. This is all pomo style now. So different ones like this. Learning how to put designs in. And leftovers, we never throw anything away. This is all leftover willows and roots and stuff. And little tiny one. So, but now that most of our teachers, aren't here with us, I travel to the museums, like out in, I go to the Smithsonian, I go to their archives, look at everything out there. And I've been to the Autry Museum down in Berkeley. There's a couple ones I want to go to out in, at Penn State. There's a big collection of baskets there. I have a basket in the Smithsonian. My mom has a basket there in Grandma Lucy's. One of her oldest baskets is there too. And I've seen that big pomo basket there, Eugene. It sits in the Smithsonian archives.
So someone asked a question, do the current basket weavers of Lucy's family sign their baskets now?
Yeah, what we usually do is like, we'll put in I've been putting in a bead, like in my baskets. And so everybody kind of has a symbol like that. My mom uses like a red bead or something, but I usually try to put a sign in there so somebody can say like, oh, well, but a lot of people don't know that, unless I tell them in they're purchasing a basket from me or something, and I let them know.
Can you show us your signature on the basket?
Yeah, let me see. I've got a lot of baskets all over here. I've been making them since we can't go anywhere, So it would be something like this one here.
Oh, with the bead. Okay.
Yeah, this is a bead here. This is a twine seaweed tray. And then coiling, is just a little beads like this too on the coiling. So, but that's usually what I.
Each individual his
Diana?
own signature or bead.
Diana? Yeah,
Yes.
I want to add a couple of comments, by the way,
Sure.
about the book itself, in the sense that when it was started, Wayne had written a book about minerals, and he called it Icons of Mineralogy, the most famous mineral specimens. And so when he started the basket book, his original idea was to write about baskets. Here are the great baskets, and not very much about the artisans themselves. But as we went on and we started gathering these baskets and all the images, it all of a sudden turned into more about the people. And that's why I'm so happy that people like Lucy and others got involved in it and look at the thing, because it turned out the book is now a dual book about the weavers more so than about the baskets. The baskets are pretty, but it's really about the people that created them, and the fact that other people helped turn what was regarded as a trade or a craft into a true art form. And these are the best artistic baskets in the world, made by the family of Lucy Parker.
Lucy, getting back to the signatures, did your ancestors put signatures on there? Can you identify some of their baskets?
Yeah, I know. When I was looking at my grandma Lucy's baskets. She, you know, we have maybe one of her cooking baskets, and we have a cradle board that she made. And this is the cradle board. This was, we were all born and raised in this. My dad, our whole family were, and all my kids were carried. This is about 100-year-old cradle basket, but that's the only basket we really have of hers. Most of all the baskets are in the Yosemite Museum, you know, along with the other ladies, Carrie and Minnie's. And when I go in the archive to look at the style, you know, and I was looking at hers because I said I really wanted to try to make one like her, you know, and use the stitching that she did. And so I would investigate. I'd get you know, get, you know, cameras and take pictures of the stitching and take pictures of the design and like, how did she put this design there? She used a lot of butterflies, I noticed, you know, in her style. And to me, I think that probably was her symbol, you know, because she'd put them in, there was a lot of flowers and, you know, kind of happy things like that. And so when I looked at them, I go, well, she always has, you know, like the little butterflies in there. And then Alice and her started using that butterfly too, I noticed. So, but I think that she really adored that, you know, with the butterflies. And it's just, it seems difficult to try to make it, put in your basket. So, but you just keep trying.
Any folks out there have more questions that they would like to ask Lucy? You know, please put them in the chat box. Most of the comments are basically people saying hello from you from Philadelphia and all over the United States. So they are, they're just feels so good to be able to see you in person on this Zoom program. So a lot of comments saying hello to you.
Okay, yeah. Well, tell them I'll come and visit them and look at their museums. Because I got I wasn't a bit of traveling, and you know, then the pandemic hit, so now I'm bound. But prior last year in March, right before everything hit, I was down in Phoenix. They had at the Heard Museum. They had the Yosemite baskets down there, and they had Lucy's, carried me all down there. I don't know if Gene, you got down there to see that show, but it was really, really nice. And so they brought me in and my family members to do a workshop there. We did a workshop there, and then I did a lecture to their historical society about the basketry there, and it was really nice. And then I jumped on the plane and flew to Washington, D.C. because I was doing research at the American Indian Museum archives and the Natural History Archives. So I'm in there, and they all know me out there, and they go, "Oh, go on in." And so they help me, and I'm just looking at everything. I try to look at every single basket. It's very emotional. You get in there, and you just feel. I just feel so proud, and just like, my gosh, the artist. You know, we're called artists now. You know, but you know, I can still, you know, I learned how to do the stitching, I learned how to do the starts, and learned how to prepare material. And when I teach a class, you know, we bring good material for everybody, and people go away, you know, making a nice little basket, you know. But it's takes a lot of material, so much material that I don't have access to sometimes. So, but
Great. Well, I want to thank you so much. And I just want to remind folks out there, if you are interested in receiving a copy of this absolutely wonderful book, please go to our website and use the code word basketry21, and you can get the 20% discount on any edition of the book. And Lucy, thank you so much for joining and sharing the information about your family and your weaving. And, you know, the best of luck to you and your family going forward, and, you know, keeping up this wonderful tradition of generations. It's really, really wonderful. And Jean, again, thank you so much and Wayne also, because if it hadn't been for your interest in these baskets, the book would not have evolved. And I don't think it would have touched so many hearts as it has, especially among the Indian community. So thank you also, Jean, for all your work in this
Yeah.
book.
I just want to say thank you to Sunbelt, and that you guys reaching out to me, and for Jean meeting me, and and I'm just so happy that our non-Indian friends are interested in what our people have been doing, and it's never was. People always say, oh, it's a dying art, and I said, no, it's never been a dying art. I said, people just haven't paid attention, and it's so evident now. You look at all the collections and the pictures of the baskets. It's just been going on for forever, and it's it gets emotional because I feel so close to these fibers. They're my friends now, and they talk to me,
Excellent.
and
Well, thank you very much for joining our Sunbelt Spotlight. And please take a look at our website and order the book if you care to get some more information about this. And thank you all for joining. Bye.
Thank you. Have a good day. Aho.